Hey everyone, it is your favorite 25-year-old financial realist, and welcome back. Today, we're tearing down one of the biggest myths of our generation. This whole idea that you should just, focus on your career in your 20s. Date around, keep it casual, put all your energy into making mad money, and then, poof. One day, when you're rich and successful, the perfect partner will magically appear and you'll live happily ever after. Sounds great on paper, right? It is the kind of toxic dream peddled by every hustle porn guru out there. But let me tell you, that narrative, it is a lie, a beautifully packaged, soul-crushing lie. And today, we're going to dismantle it piece by piece. Because a listener, let's call him Alex, sent in a question that perfectly encapsulates this dilemma. He asked, "Hey WN, should I settle down with one woman in my 20s, or focus on my career and date around?" And Alex, my man, that question, it's a loaded one. A question almost every guy our age wrestles with, and it is exactly the kind of question that deserves more than a surface-level answer. So grab your favorite brew because we're about to dive deep into the uncomfortable truths about career, dating, and finding actual meaning in your 20s. First, let's talk about the focus on career and date around philosophy. The one that says, maximize your single years, get rich, get experienced, then settle down. The supposed pros, more time for work, more money, more freedom, no emotional baggage, you get to experience different women, figure out what you like, what you don't. And then, when you're older, wiser, and significantly wealthier, you'll make the perfect marriage decision. Sounds logical, right? Like a carefully planned investment strategy. But here's the thing. Life. It is not a spreadsheet, and human beings. We're not just data points. Let me hit you with some cold, hard math, the kind that might just send a shiver down your spine. A good marriage. A truly fulfilling partnership, statistically, it is a massive financial asset, not just emotionally, but financially. We're talking dual income, shared expenses, support during tough times, a built-in safety net, and the value of having someone who genuinely has your back, who celebrates your wins and picks you up after your losses. That is an intangible asset that dwarfs any stock portfolio, any real estate investment. Now, let's look at the flip side of this. Date around strategy, the hidden costs, the endless swiping, the superficial conversations, the emotional energy poured into people you don't actually care about. It is a time suck, a money pit, and honestly, a soul drain. You think you're saving time by not committing, but you're actually spending countless hours on fleeting connections. Hers you could be investing in yourself, in genuine relationships, in building something real. And the money. Oh, the money. Every casual date, every dinner, every drink, it adds up. That is a $20 investment in a stranger. $20 that could have gone into your Roth IRA, $20 that could have been working for you. Compounding, growing, instead, it is gone, poof, vanished into the ether of a forgettable evening. Think of it this way. Every single dollar you spend on a date with someone you don't see a future with, that is a dollar you've essentially fired from your personal finance team. It is a dollar that could have been earning interest, buying you freedom, giving you options. But no, you sent it out on a one-way trip to nowhere. And let's not even get started on the emotional toll, the constant low-level anxiety of not knowing where you stand, the inevitable disappointments, the emotional distance. You're essentially training yourself to be emotionally detached, to avoid vulnerability, and while that might seem like a defense mechanism, it is actually building walls around your heart, walls that become harder and harder to dismantle as you get older. And guess what? Being emotionally numb, that is a fast track to depression, to feeling like life is just, well, bland. Because experiencing emotions, good and bad, that is what makes us human. That is what makes life vibrant. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you should marry the first person you meet, but there is a huge difference between being intentional about dating and just, dating around. For the sake of it, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It is exhausting, it is unfulfilling, and it is ultimately a waste of your most precious resources, time and emotional energy. I spent my late teens and early 20s dabbling in this date around philosophy, and I quickly realized it was a trap, a gilded cage. I was always looking for the next best thing, never fully present, never fully invested, and you know what? It never led to anything substantial, anything meaningful. It just led to a lot of wasted time and a creeping sense of emptiness, because ultimately being hyper-successful with women, if it is just casual, leads to purposelessness. It is the same thing, over and over again, like hitting refresh on a web page that never changes. So, what is the alternative? The date seriously, and settle down earlier philosophy. This is where the real value lies, where the real growth happens. The pros are immense: stability, companionship, a partner in crime for life's adventures. someone to bounce ideas off, someone to celebrate with, someone to lean on, and let's not forget the financial benefits of a dual income. Imagine two incomes, two people building wealth together, two people contributing to a shared financial future. That is not just double the income, that is exponential growth. That is paying off debt faster, investing more aggressively, reaching financial freedom sooner. It is about being a team, a financial powerhouse. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but WN, what about my career? What about my freedom? And that is where the old school thinking gets it all wrong. They tell you, career first, then love. But what if I told you a truly supportive partner, the right partner, actually enhances your career? They provide the stability, the emotional support, the sounding board you need to thrive. They're your biggest cheerleader, your toughest critic, and your unwavering anchor. I've seen it firsthand. My current girlfriend, she is literally helping to support me while I quit my job to chase my dreams. That is not a distraction. That is a superpower. My previous relationship, on the other hand, was a constant source of stress, drama, and unrealistic expectations. She was mad I wasn't making $200,000 when I was making $100,000. Told me I had no ambition. That, my friends, is the difference between the right person and the wrong person. The right person makes your life easier, not harder. They lift you up, they don't drag you down. So this idea that you have to choose between career and a serious relationship, it is a false dichotomy, a manufactured conflict. You can and should pursue both in parallel, because finding the right person, that is not a distraction from your career goals. It is a catalyst. It is the ultimate life hack. Now, I'm not naive. I know marriage is risky. Divorce is awful, financially and emotionally devastating. But so is a career that doesn't work out, a business that fails, or worse, a successful career that leaves you feeling empty and unfulfilled. Everything in life has risks. The goal isn't to avoid risk. It is to make calculated risks, to stack the odds in your favor. And when it comes to relationships, dating with intention, seeking a committed partnership, that is stacking the odds in your favor for a lifetime of happiness, stability, and yes, even financial success. Now, some of you might say, but WN, I need to experience more before I settle down. And to that I say, how much experience do you actually need? Are you collecting women like trading cards, trying to hit some arbitrary number because at some point, experience just becomes repetition, a shallow pursuit that yields diminishing returns? I found that my experiences in casual dating mostly taught me what I didn't want, and while that is valuable, there are less exhausting ways to learn those lessons. Like, actually having conversations with people, reflecting on your values, and being honest with yourself. My general take, in your early 20s, sure, explore a bit, figure yourself out. But by 24, 25, it is time to get serious, to start dating with intention. Because statistically, the sweet spot for marriage, the lowest divorce rates, is between 28 and 32. That means if you start looking seriously at 25, you've got a good 3 to 7 years to find your person, to build a strong foundation, to grow together. And trust me, finding that person, that is the biggest investment you'll ever make. The returns, they're infinite. Let's delve a little deeper into the concept of personal freedom that so many people cling to in their 20s. This idea that a serious relationship will somehow shackle you, limit your potential. It is another well-meaning, but ultimately misguided, notion. True freedom, my friends, isn't about being unattached. It is about having options. And a stable, loving partnership. It expands your options. It doesn't restrict them. Think about it. 2 incomes, shared responsibilities, mutual support. That frees up mental space, emotional energy, and yes, even financial resources, to pursue your passions, to take calculated risks in your career, to travel, to learn, to grow. When you're constantly chasing fleeting connections, you're not free, you're just constantly distracted. You're spending your precious freedom on trivial pursuits, on dates that go nowhere, on conversations that lack depth. That is not freedom. That is just a different kind of trap. A treadmill of superficiality. And what about the argument that single guys have more time to grind on projects? Sure, you might be able to work 70-hour weeks without anyone complaining, but at what cost? Burnout is real, my friends, and it is a silent killer of dreams. A serious relationship with the right person provides a much-needed balance. It forces you to step away from the grind, to recharge, to connect with something more profound than your latest spreadsheet. And paradoxically, that balance, that emotional well-being, it makes you more productive, more creative, more successful in the long run. Because a well-rounded life, it is a foundation for sustained success, not just a temporary sprint towards a financial goal. I've learned this the hard way, chasing numbers on a screen, seeing my bank account grow. It never brought me the fulfillment I thought it would. It was a hollow victory, a race to nowhere. The true richness, the true meaning, it came from the connections I built, the relationships I nurtured. So if you're out there thinking, I'll just get rich first, then find happiness, you're putting the cart before the horse, and you're likely to end up with a very lonely, very empty cart. And let's talk about the biological clock. Yes, men have more leeway than women, that is a biological reality. But that doesn't mean you should squander your prime years. Do you really want to be a grandpa dad, barely able to keep up with your kids? Or do you want to be an engaged, energetic father, present for every milestone, every adventure, the decisions you make in your 20s? They ripple through your entire life. They shape your future, your relationships, your family, your legacy, and waiting too long, delaying the pursuit of a meaningful partnership. It can lead to a different kind of regret, a regret that can be even more painful than a failed career. The regret of missed opportunities, of roads not taken, of a life lived less fully. And let's be blunt. If you prioritize your career above all else, you might wake up one day, rich, successful, and utterly alone, surrounded by people who are only with you because of your money, your status, your perceived power. That is not a life of abundance. That is a life of transactional relationships. A life where you're constantly questioning people's motives, constantly guarding your heart. That is not the dream, my friends. That is the nightmare. So, my closing thoughts, my unapologetically old school wisdom. Time. It moves fast. Way faster than you think. Missed opportunities. They're inevitable. In both dating and business. But why choose? Why limit yourself? Why subscribe to a narrative that sells you short? You can have both. A fulfilling career and a deeply meaningful relationship. In fact, one often fuels the other. So stop waiting for life to happen to you. Stop chasing ghost careers and fleeting connections. Start building a life that is rich in every sense of the word. A life filled with purpose, with genuine connection, with financial freedom. And trust me, that starts with intentional choices, with patience, and with a healthy dose of anti-intuitive thinking. Every unnecessary expense, every wasted minute on a dead-end pursuit, that is a bullet fired at your future happiness. So, choose wisely, my friends. Choose with intention. Choose for a life that is truly abundant. Stay boring, stay patient, peace.